The first episode opens with a mysterious scene. A young man with eyes similar to someone else's is being invited to a new world. He can't remember who he is or a certain woman's identity. We jump forward 3 years to the kingdom of Weenia's Royal Academy of Magic. A student named Sabil, known as the lowest ranked in his year, has been summoned to the headmaster's office, causing a stir among his peers. We're introduced to Lou Christas, a peculiar witch who arrives at the academy demanding to see Headmaster Albus. She creates quite a commotion, even threatening a student to get Albus's attention. Headmaster Albus finally appears, revealing that she summoned Sabil for a special field program. Inside the office, Headmaster Albus explains to Sabil that he's not being expelled, but rather sent on a special field program to develop his skills in a different environment. Albus provides a brief history lesson about the war between the church and witches, and how magic has become integrated into daily life in the Kingdom of Weenias. She reveals her plan to create a witch village in the south. Lou Christas interjects, offering to escort Sabil to the village in exchange for access to a forbidden text called the Grimoire of Zero. Albus refuses, but offers to arrange a meeting with the grimoire's author instead. The scene shifts to the entrance of the southern tunnel, known as Witch Gallows. Sabil meets Hort, a fourth-year student who will be accompanying him. They also encounter Kudo, a Beast Fallen student who decides to travel separately. As they begin their journey, we learn more about the characters. Hort is revealed to be the top student, while Sabil struggles with controlling his magic. Lou offers some harsh but realistic advice about the dangers of being a mage. Unknown to our travelers, a group of witch hunters is planning to attack them, specifically targeting Kudo, the Beast Fallen. At an inn, Sabil and Hort learn that Kudo's group was attacked by supposed thieves. Lou deduces that they were actually witch hunters, and that Kudo sacrificed himself to protect his classmates. Lou leaves to rescue Kudo, ordering Sabil and Hort to stay behind. However, the two students use magic to track Lou's location, determined to help. The first episode ends on a cliffhanger as Sabil and Hort find Kudo's severed tail, hinting at a violent encounter with the witch hunters. The next episode is titled, Don't Call Me a Traitor, leaving viewers wondering about potential betrayals within the group. The second episode begins with a group preparing to move out. There's tension in the air as they discuss whether Kudo, presumably a lizard-like character, has died. They speculate that Kudo might be able to regrow his tail, which they decide to take with them. Hort and another character discover 3 sets of footprints on the ground. They deduce that one belongs to Kudo, another to Professor Los, and the third to a witch hunter. The realization that they're dealing with just one enemy, possibly a professional from Ignis, sets in. We learn about the Arbiters, former death row inmates recruited by the church to hunt witches. These ruthless hunters are known for their disregard for innocent lives in their pursuit of witches. The group, now aware of the danger, decides to search for their missing companion. They're cautious, knowing that any step could trigger a trap set by the Arbiter. The scene shifts to Kudo, who's caught in a trap. He's confronted by the Arbiter, known as the Tyrant. Kudo attempts to escape, but finds himself outmatched by the Arbiter's skills and traps. In a moment of desperation, Kudo reflects on his past and his desire for protection. He wonders if staying with his companions would have been a better choice. Just as the situation seems dire for Kudo, a new character enters the scene. Lou Christas, the Dawn Witch and Pact Holder of the Staff of Ladens. She introduces herself as a teacher from the Magic Academy, coming to protect her students. Lou confronts the Arbiter, showcasing her impressive magical abilities. However, the situation takes a turn when the Arbiter manages to capture Sabe, one of Lou's students, and uses him as a hostage. Lou is forced to surrender her staff to protect Sabe. The Arbiter reveals his plan to acquire both the Staff of Ladens and its Pact Holder. In a shocking twist, it's revealed that Hort, another student, has been working as a spy for the anti-witch faction of the church. We see flashbacks of Hort's troubled past and the circumstances that led to this betrayal. Despite the revelation of her betrayal, Hort decides to take action. She uses magic to attack the Arbiter, showing her true allegiance lies with her friends and teachers. In a desperate move, Sabe grabs the Staff of Ladens, risking his life to save his companions. This action triggers a powerful magical reaction. The aftermath of Sabe's action is revealed. Miraculously, everyone has survived. Professor Lu scolds the students for their reckless behavior but is relieved they're all safe. As the group prepares to leave, we learn that Sabe's magic is incredibly powerful, even overwhelming the staff of Ladens. The episode ends with the group heading off together, with some comedic banter about Kudo's missing tail. The episode concludes with a preview for the next episode, titled Beyond the Steam, hinting at a possible hot spring adventure to come. The third episode opens with a nighttime scene. Sabe is unable to sleep and engages in a conversation with Hort about trust and their backgrounds. Hort reveals her nature as a beast fallen, showing Sabe her antlers. She explains her difficult childhood and how studying at the academy helped her understand her identity. The conversation is interrupted by Professor Los, who makes some inappropriate comments about relationships. We see a scene with students discussing their involvement with the church, indicating some trouble they've gotten into. Professor Los suggests regenerating Kudo's hands using magic. This leads to a discussion about the structure of magic and its different chapters. The group performs a magical ritual to regenerate Kudo's hands, with Sabe providing the necessary magical energy. After successfully regenerating Kudo's hands, Professor Los encourages the group to seek acclaim for their magical abilities. The scene shifts to a bustling city, where the group arrives and plans to visit a bathhouse. At the bathhouse, Kudo and Sabe have a private conversation about their reasons for becoming mages. Kudo reveals his goal to join the church and mage army. Kudo shares his backstory, including his experience during the disasters of the North and his encounter with the Dragon Conqueror King, which inspired him to join the church and mage army. The intimate conversation is interrupted by Professor Los, who inappropriately enters the men's bath, leading to a comical scene. The narrative jumps forward, describing how the journey progressed smoothly after the initial mishaps. Professor Los proves to be a knowledgeable and helpful guide. During a conversation, the group discusses Professor Los's future plans. She expresses her desire to meet the Mudblack Witch, the inventor of magic. Professor Los explains her perspective on life as a 300-year-old witch, emphasizing the importance of new experiences and entertainment in her long life. The peaceful journey is interrupted when a stranger warns the group to hide, hinting at some danger ahead. A mysterious barrier is activated to hide the group, revealing the presence of magic in the area. A threatening figure searches for the hidden group, suggesting violence against children if they don't reveal themselves. The barrier is broken, and a confrontation ensues between the group and the mysterious attacker. The attacker retreats, but not before hinting at a larger scheme in play. The scene shifts to a village, where a child named Laos returns to the priest, mentioning that he was saved by mages. The third episode ends with a preview for the next episode, titled, I'm Not Afraid to Die, featuring a brief comedic exchange about a fluffy creature. The fourth episode opens with a tense confrontation between three mages and the local priest. The priest reveals that he knows about the field program and questions the mage's intelligence for not realizing the villagers would be aware of it. One of the mages apologizes for their initial hostility towards witches, explaining it was a reflex due to past experiences. The priest acknowledges that the mages protected someone, but criticizes their recklessness in confronting a mercenary. The priest orders the mages to leave the village, revealing that he works for a witch who controls the area. This unexpected revelation shocks the mages, who are now faced with a difficult situation. We learn that 2 years ago, the village's control changed hands when the witch who was supposed to supervise the mages surrendered to an invader without a fight. Since then, no one has been able to oppose the new ruler. The mages realize that they've been sent to a compromised location, possibly as part of a scheme by their academy to get rid of problematic students. They discuss the implications of returning to the academy and potentially failing or being expelled. A local priest explains that battling the powerful witch controlling the village could result in significant casualties, making it an unappealing option for outside forces. This further complicates the mages' situation. The group, led by Professor Los, decides to investigate the village to determine if the priest can be trusted. They meet a young boy named Laos, who was previously protected by the mages. As they tour the village, they come across a disturbing sight: dolls representing each person who used to live there. It's revealed that the witch and mercenary don't tolerate escape attempts, using the dolls as a deterrent. Professor Los, enraged by the situation, declares her intention to kill the witch and confront the academy's headmaster. She swears to complete her job and teach the witch a lesson for underestimating her. The mages debate their options, with Sabe suggesting they attempt to defeat the witch themselves to avoid involving the church and mage army and potentially turning the village into a battlefield. Hort becomes upset at the idea of a suicidal mission, leading to an argument with Sabe. Sabe reveals that he's not afraid to die, which further distresses Hort. Professor Los advises Sabe about friendship and the importance of understanding others' feelings. She sends him to apologize to Hort for his insensitivity. Hort, while crying, encounters a young girl named Lily who comforts her. They have a brief conversation about mages and the church. The scene transitions to show Professor Los discussing their chances against the witch with Kudo. She reveals that her motivation is the entertainment value of the situation and her desire to see her students succeed. Hort, realizing she overreacted, decides to return to her friends and communicate better. However, she's intercepted by the priest, who reveals himself to be an enemy. Sabe and Kudo, unable to find Hort, seek Professor Los's help to track her using magic. They follow her magical trace to a cave in the forest. Inside the cave, they find traces of blood and sense magical presences beyond Hort's. Professor Los decides to accept the invitation to meet the village's ruler, despite the obvious danger. Professor Los gives a rousing speech about bravery and facing seemingly hopeless fights, referencing the legendary dragon conqueror king. She challenges the mages to choose between being daring soldiers or fleeing civilians. Meanwhile, Hort is being held captive by the priest, who offers her a chance to join him and learn magic. He claims he can get her into the church and mage army. The priest lies to Hort, claiming he killed and ate her friends. This enrages Kudo, who refuses to abandon his companions despite the tempting offer. Back in the cave, Professor Los has a heartfelt conversation with Sabe about friendship and the value of life. Sabe affirms that he would try to save both Hort and Professor Los, considering them friends. The fourth episode ends with a cliffhanger as Sabe is suddenly attacked, leaving the outcome uncertain. This episode opens with a mysterious encounter. A young man is told that his eyes are similar to those of the speaker. This cryptic statement sets an intriguing tone for the episode. The young man recalls a memory of someone, though the details are unclear. This moment of recollection adds depth to the character's backstory. A voice invites the young man, saying they've been waiting for him. This creates an air of anticipation and mystery about what's to come. The protagonist questions the identity of the person speaking to him. The dialogue hints at a magical setting, with mentions of witches and the power of their eyes. A conflict arises as someone intervenes, declaring the other person is in the way. This sets up a potential confrontation. A character named Professor Los is called out, indicating they might be in danger or needed urgently. The antagonist, revealed to be a powerful witch, expresses displeasure at a pretender standing beside the young man. This introduces the central conflict of the episode. The witch praises the young man, calling him exceptional and better than those around him. This flattery seems to be part of an attempt to sway him. We learn that a character named Hort has been taken by a mercenary, adding urgency to the situation. The protagonist realizes that the current events are his fault, showing a sense of responsibility and guilt. The witch offers to love, guide, and protect the young man, presenting herself as a powerful ally and mentor figure. In a moment of character development, the protagonist rejects the witch's offer. He defends his friends, explaining why they are worthy and important to him. The young man declares that of all his memories, the witch is the one he could most do without, solidifying his stance against her. The witch, shocked by the rejection, questions how he could refuse someone as great as her. In a powerful moment, the protagonist states, "I'll decide who's worthwhile," echoing the episode's title and asserting his independence. The situation escalates as the young man prepares to use all his magic in a desperate attempt to save Professor Los. An unexpected twist occurs as the witch absorbs the protagonist's magical energy, revealing her true power and identity as Zero, the author of a significant grimoire. Professor Los intervenes, using imitated magic to protect the young man. This showcases her resourcefulness and dedication to her students. Zero, the witch, demonstrates her supreme magical abilities by easily countering the magic used against her. In a surprising turn of events, the tense situation is revealed to be a test for the students. The entire village was involved in this elaborate examination. The true nature of the test is explained. It was designed to evaluate the students' potential and moral character, given their exceptional magical abilities. The students learn they've passed the test and are assigned to the witch village as part of a field program. This marks a significant milestone in their magical education. A wanted poster for an arbiter is shown, hinting at potential future conflicts or plot developments. Zero explains the field program to the students, revealing they will each operate a store in the village to make it easy for villagers to seek their help. A dramatic moment occurs as the Dragon Conqueror King arrives, delivering important dispatches that grant the students full authorization to use all magic. Professor Los, who was initially thought to be leaving, announces her intention to stay in the village for the next 3 years, much to the students' delight. The episode concludes with a revelation about the protagonist's past, including his connection to Zero and a tragic event involving his mother. This backstory adds depth to the character and sets up potential future plot developments. The next episode is teased with the title Knowledge of Ignorance, hinting at themes of learning and self-discovery to come. 2 months have passed since Sabil and his companions arrived in the village. To be helpful mages, they've each established their own roles. Hort as the village handymage, Kudo as an assistant at the clinic, and Sabil running a magic shop from his house. At Sabil's magic shop, we see a customer enthusiastically seeking Sabil's magic supply services. The scene humorously depicts the customer's intense reaction to being filled up with magic, highlighting the unique nature of Sabil's abilities. As days pass, Sabil feels more accustomed to life in the village. However, this sense of comfort is soon challenged by Professor Los, who questions Sabil's limited interactions with the village and its inhabitants. Professor Los confronts Sabil about his tendency to confine himself to the shop. She points out that he's avoiding initiating interactions with others and compares his behavior to that of an anxious noble girl at a ball, emphasizing the need for Sabil to engage more with the community. Sabil defends his actions, explaining that he needs to be available in case someone's magic is depleted. He also mentions doing household chores, including laundry for everyone, which raises concerns with Professor Los about boundaries and appropriate behavior. Professor Los explains to Sabil the importance of personal boundaries, especially regarding handling others' intimate clothing. She tries to make him understand the social implications of his actions, which Sabil seems oblivious to due to his lack of experience. The conversation shifts to Sabil's relationship with Hort. Professor Los suggests that Hort might have romantic feelings for Sabil, but he appears confused by this concept, revealing his naivety in social and romantic matters. Professor Los comforts Sabil, recognizing that his behavior stems from his past experiences of oppression and slavery. This moment provides insight into Sabil's background and the reasons behind his current actions and mindset. The discussion turns to Sabil's lack of focus on his magical studies. Professor Los expresses concern that Sabil is neglecting his own growth by prioritizing supporting Hort and Kudo, highlighting the imbalance in his approach to learning and helping others. To encourage Sabil to engage more with the village, Professor Los sends him on a mission to gather tea leaves from the forest. This task serves as a catalyst for Sabil's upcoming adventures and interactions outside his comfort zone. Sabil encounters Leos, a young boy from the village, who offers to guide him to the tea leaves. This interaction marks the beginning of Sabil's venture beyond the confines of his shop and into the wider world of the village and its surroundings. Sabil and Leos become lost in the forest after Leos admits to lying about knowing the way. This situation teaches Sabil about the importance of trust and the potential dangers of the unknown, as well as the responsibilities that come with interacting with others, especially children. A mouse appears, which Leos recognizes as Lily's friend from the church. They follow the mouse, hoping it will lead them back to the village. This event introduces new characters and locations. They arrive at the church, where they meet Leos's mother and Lily. Sabil is invited inside, marking his first time entering the church and expanding his experiences within the village. Inside the church, Sabil encounters Father, who provides him with a harsh but important lesson about the dangers of ignorance and the importance of learning about one's surroundings. This interaction challenges Sabil's complacent attitude and encourages him to be more proactive in his learning. Hort arrives at the church, distraught after a dangerous encounter with wolves in the forest. She reveals that she accidentally hit Mercenary with a spell while trying to protect him, showcasing the risks and challenges of their magical training. Professor Los appears and reminds Sabil of his job as a magic supplier. This leads to a scene where Sabil provides magic to the Mudblack Witch, demonstrating the practical application of his abilities and his importance to the community. A conversation between Mercenary and others reveals that Hort's mistake is seen as a learning opportunity rather than grounds for expulsion. This shows the supportive nature of their training environment and the expectation of growth through experience. The 6th episode concludes with a discussion between Professor Los and the Mudblack Witch about Sabil's progress and future. They debate the best approach to guiding Sabil's development as a mage, highlighting the complexities of nurturing magical talent while respecting individual choices. The final scene shows Sabil deciding to play with Leos in the forest the next day, indicating his newfound willingness to engage more with the village and its inhabitants. This decision marks a potential turning point in Sabil's character development and his integration into the community. The 7th episode opens with Kudo questioning his surroundings, finding himself back in his room. He recalls a previous incident involving a disease outbreak in a western village where people couldn't afford medicine. The scene appears to be a flashback or memory. A conversation reveals that Kudo has just woken up after passing out from magical depletion. The dialogue shifts to a discussion about Lily's cooking and a mention of an old mercenary. The conversation becomes tense when it is revealed that Hort accidentally hit the mercenary with a spell. The characters engage in playful banter, with Kudo being called an edge lizard. Professor Los enters and interrupts their nighttime argument. She begins a discussion about how each person must face his or her mistakes from earlier in the day. It's revealed that Sabil got lost in a forest with Leos. The conversation turns to making plans for the next day. Sabil is given permission to play in the forest with Leos, but they're instructed to collect medicinal herbs as part of a herbology lesson. The group is told they need to visit the Mudblack Witch together. The scene changes as the characters prepare to leave for their day, referring to a Professor Los, who is described as motherly, strict yet kind. This gives us insight into the school or training setting of the story. The setting moves to a location with many books, where they discuss the Forbidden Library at Nyadora Fort in the north. We learn this library contains books forbidden by the church and is deliberately hidden from maps. The north is described as dangerous due to remnants of disaster. A training session takes place in which Hort practices magic control, specifically a spell called Phlagus. Professor Zero demonstrates the proper use of magical energy and encourages experimentation with casting techniques. A tense moment occurs when magic transfer attempts fail between characters, leading to concern about the professor's condition. Two characters are sent to bring food from a bar, while another stays to help the professor. The scene becomes more personal as they discuss the similarities between their eyes, and there's a revelation about Sabil's father. The episode delves into the background of a mysterious book about medicinal herbs, written by a talented sorcerer who turns out to be Sabil's father. As they await Mercenary's arrival, Professor Zero notes that he must have run there immediately upon being informed, but is now deliberately taking his time up the stairs. This shows Mercenary's concerned yet composed character. Mercenary arrives with food, including smoked pork and sausage. A tense moment occurs as they begin to discuss something about magic supply abilities, but the conversation is interrupted. The scene shifts to Sabe and Leos in the forest, where they're searching for red flowers growing at the base of trees. Sabe demonstrates knowledge about edible mushrooms and harmful plants, impressing Leos, who views him as grown up because he can read. A flashback reveals that 3 characters were set up in shops to further their studies as mages. There's a serious discussion about choosing between becoming a magic supplier or a mage, highlighting the importance of having clear goals. Back in the forest, Sabe and Leos discover a dead animal. The situation becomes tense when Leos mentions wolves, showing complete faith in Sabe's magical abilities to protect them. They then find the red flowers they were searching for, celebrating their success as an adventuring party. The mood suddenly shifts as something dangerous appears. Sabe tries to protect Leos but fails to prevent him from being injured. The situation becomes desperate as Sabe realizes he can't perform healing magic successfully. They finally reach help, with Professor Zero and Mercenary taking immediate action. The Dawn Witch provides blood for a transfusion, though this leads to both the witch and patient collapsing from blood loss and magic depletion respectively. It's revealed that they encountered a remnant of disaster, a demon-created creature that disguises itself as dead animals to lure prey. This revelation leads to a serious discussion about someone deliberately releasing these dangerous creatures in the area. The scene shifts to a group planning to investigate who's been catching and selling these remnants of disaster. They discuss the peace between the church and witches, suggesting that whoever is behind this is a heretic. The episode concludes with preparations for a journey to investigate the situation, with some tension over who will accompany whom. Despite concerns about magic depletion, Zero insists on going, showing her determination to resolve the situation. The episode ends with a preview of the next episode titled Respective Costs, where there's a warning for Leos to stay away from Sabil, creating tension for what's to come. The 8th episode opens with someone explaining they've been entrusted with protecting a village temporarily. A group of our heroes discuss this person and identify him as Hold'em, the head of security, who is super capable. Horde asks Hold'em if he's there to do awful stuff again, referencing a previous test where they got hurt. Hold'em explains he's there to inspect the village, and it was just assigned to him because he's capable. Professor Los questions Hold'em's true purpose, noting the suspicious timing of his arrival coinciding with the appearance of a remnant of disaster. Hold'em denies any connection, claiming if he used a remnant of disaster, the village would fall. He then asks if Professor Los can take care of the remnant problem. Professor Los reflects on her friend Serena, who died protecting people. They feel obligated to protect the village in Serena's memory. The scene shifts to a conversation between characters discussing becoming proper mages. One character expresses a desire to graduate and become mages together. There's a brief exchange about laundry duties, with Horde insisting she doesn't need her clothes washed. Professor Los appears, telling the group to hurry home. The characters express concern for the professor's well-being. Sabil asks to be taught how to cast magic in exchange for restoring the other's magic. The offer is accepted, with Horde admitting they felt they had been relying too much on the other. The conversation takes an awkward turn as they discuss the method of supplying magic through lips, leading to some comedic misunderstandings and protective behavior. The scene changes to Hold'em requesting to be shown to an empty house. His creepy remarks lead to the others threatening to file a complaint. A serious conversation occurs between Mr. ULS and Sabil, where ULS asks Sabil to stay away from his son. The scene abruptly shifts to a tense nighttime encounter, with someone threatening Sabil. A flashback shows Sabil's mother warning him never to approach a witch with eyes like hers. The attacker reveals they've hidden a child in a barrier. The witch threatens to let Sabil's mother die if the child doesn't come out. The young Sabil appears and cries. The attacker then attempts to harness some kind of power from the child. The scene abruptly shifts to Sabil being abducted. The kidnapper explains they were ordered to take Sabil alive this time. A rescue attempt is made, but it goes awry when the horses pulling the rescue party's cart won't stop. A brief fight ensues, ending with the kidnapper surrendering due to the disadvantageous conditions of fighting in the forest at night. More characters arrive on the scene, including a blood-starved priest who might have Julianed the assailant if they hadn't arrived in time. It's revealed that the situation was actually a test. The tyrant, the kidnapper, was supposed to bring at least one student back to the academy to avoid the death penalty. This was meant to test the village's ability to protect its students. The characters discuss the village's weaknesses exposed by this test, particularly their lack of fighting power to protect surrounding towns. A suggestion is made to use the tyrant to bolster the village's fighting power, much to the tyrant's surprise and dismay. This suggestion is met with strong opposition from some characters, particularly due to the tyrant's past betrayal of the church and his attempt to kill them. The village leader, Professor Zero, gives a speech about the cycle of revenge and wrongdoing between witches and witch hunters, drawing parallels to their current situation with the tyrant. A heated debate ensues about whether to execute the tyrant or allow him to serve the village. The discussion touches on themes of redemption, trust, and the morality of killing. Eventually, a compromise is reached, The tyrant will live in the local bar where he can be monitored by the mercenary. The village leader praises one of the characters, Hort, for making a difficult decision to let the tyrant live, putting aside personal feelings for what they believed was best. The 8th episode ends with Hort clutching Professor Los in her arms and continuing to sob heavily. The episode begins with a conversation between Professor Los and Hold'em about returning to the Forbidden Library. The witch explains she is currently more focused on watching his ducklings grow than pursuing the grimoire of Zero, noting how quickly time passes. This establishes a bittersweet tone about the passage of time. The scene shifts to Sabe and Hort. A significant revelation occurs when Sabe regains his memories, though he admits they aren't pleasant ones. The character expresses disappointment that remembering hasn't brought the clarity they expected, suggesting a complex past. Sabe asks Hort about the nature of feelings and love, mentioning that Professor Lo said Hort is in love with him. This catches Hort off guard, and she struggles to explain, saying that being in love means wanting to be special to someone. This leads to a thoughtful discussion about what it means to have feelings for someone, showing the character's emotional inexperience. A crucial moment occurs when Sabe realizes he might have feelings for Professor Los. This revelation creates tension in the conversation, though his friend responds supportively and offers to be a source of love advice. The news about Sabe's feelings for Professor Los begins to spread, creating complications within their relationships. The scene shifts to a serious conversation with Professor Zero, where deeper truths begin to emerge. This marks a turning point in the episode where past connections start coming to light. Important backstory is revealed about Sabe's mother warning him about witches with specific eyes. We learn that these eyes are a special inheritance from his father, and Professor Zero is revealed to be Sabe's aunt. The conversation delves into the character's father, 13, who is described as a rational but ultimately cruel figure who started a war. This reveals the complex family history and its connection to current events. The scene shifts to a training sequence where the student practices magic circulation with Professor Zero. This training session is interrupted by external events, showing the precarious piece of their current situation. New characters arrive late to a situation, including Tyrant, the bad boy. The tension escalates as physical confrontation occurs, suggesting brewing conflict. The episode continues with the arrival of Lady Hearth and a discussion of the growing dangers in the village. Despite suggestions to flee, Lady Hearthful expresses resolve, acknowledging that everyone who came to the witch village was prepared for potential conflicts with church extremists. Lady Hearthful brings lunch for the young assailant, showing compassion despite his actions. A discussion ensues about how the church extremists used him as chum to test the village's defenses. This reveals that the boy was essentially sent as a sacrificial pawn. Kudo expresses anger about the attacker's actions, particularly his willingness to harm children. However, the conversation takes an interesting turn when others notice Kudo's hidden sympathy for the young assailant, leading to a lighthearted moment of teasing. Lady Hearthful attempts to teach the character known as Tyrant about the importance of manners and etiquette. This leads to a tense discussion about killing versus protection, revealing Tyrant's simplistic view of his role as an arbiter. A confrontational moment occurs between Professor Los and Tyrant when the latter attempts to act threatening. Professor Los makes it clear that such intimidation tactics won't work in the village, showing the strength that lies beneath the village's peaceful exterior. The group discusses how to handle the young attacker, with Kudo strongly opposing any suggestion of torture. This shows character growth as Kudo stands up for proper legal treatment, earning praise from his peers. A priest arrives and conducts an unusual interrogation in darkness, reading the boy's unconscious expressions and movements. This reveals that the boy was sent alone and abandoned by his superiors, with no rescue planned. The adults piece together that someone high up in the church's hierarchy must be involved, given the presence of a remnant of destruction. They deduce that while they're waiting for the next move, it's possible it has already been made in secret. The scene shifts to a more peaceful moment at the school, where Tyrant is being shown around by Lady Hearthful. The children are making fishing traps, and despite Tyrant's attempts to appear threatening, he begins to show a softer side. The episode concludes with plans for a fishing trip the next day, with the children showing no fear of Tyrant despite his reputation. Lady Hearthful explains that the villagers won't fear anything without sufficient reason, demonstrating their unique philosophy. The 10th episode opens with a tense scene. One of the characters asks Kudo if he's going to kill him. The response is chilling. "You aren't worth killing." This sets a dark tone for the episode. We learn that the protagonist had expected to die here and have their name go down in history. The scene changes to what appears to be a meal. Someone has finished eating everything, impressing Kudo. They discuss the food, with the eater praising it all, but noting that one sauce was a bit bitter. A revelation occurs. The cook is revealed to be a mouse, shocking the eater. This adds a fantastical element to the world and challenges the eater's preconceptions. The mouse cook apologizes profusely, but the eater, despite initial shock, compliments the food as the best they've ever eaten. This moment shows character growth and the breaking down of prejudices. The scene shifts to a different location. Kudo asks what the young man's name is. In response, he hears the name Katie. The atmosphere seems tense, with Kudo warning Katie not to try escaping. A magical element is introduced when a character called Sabil demonstrates how to exert control using a spell. This reveals the fantasy setting of the story and introduces the concept of magic. The characters practice magic with varying degrees of success. This scene provides insight into how magic works in this world and the different skill levels of the characters. Professor Los enters the scene. She's approached by a student who wants help with an experiment involving the Staff of Ludens. The scene takes an unexpected turn as the student, Sabe, confesses romantic feelings for Professor Los. This adds a layer of personal drama to the story and creates an awkward situation. We shift to a darker scene where a group of children are being indoctrinated against witches. They're told that witches are responsible for all their misfortunes, setting up a major conflict in the story. The scene abruptly changes to a happier one with children inviting Katie to play and catch fish. This stark contrast highlights the complexity of the world and its characters. Tension rises as one character accuses another of being a traitor, questioning how others can trust them. This reveals ongoing conflicts and mistrust within the group. Horde explains that earning trust is a process that requires making and keeping promises. They make a pact with Katie not to harm those who can't fight back. The scene shifts to Professor Los waking up. A student brings her bread and offers to make tea, creating a momentary peaceful atmosphere. The student reveals a magic potion they've created based on a book borrowed from Professor Zero. This introduces new magical elements and hints at the student's advanced studies. It's revealed that the book was written by the Sorcerer 13, the student's father. This adds a layer of personal history and potential conflict to the story. An experiment with the potion on Ludens shows unexpected results, giving it more magic than anticipated. This demonstrates the unpredictable nature of magic in this world. The scene changes to a conversation about traps. A character is praised for their talent in making complex, inescapable traps. This dark turn hints at cruel practices in this world. We return to the river scene, where a child has caught a fish with their bare hands. This lighter moment provides a contrast to the darker themes of the episode. A character named Hearthful is revealed to be from the north, which was made unlivable by a witch. Despite this, she's come to a witch village, showing a complex approach to prejudice and forgiveness. The peaceful scene is interrupted as something seems to go wrong with Katie. There's a sudden shift in atmosphere as danger approaches. Katie transforms or is possessed, becoming monstrous and hungry. This reveals the true threat that's been building throughout the episode. A battle ensues as the other characters try to subdue or defeat the transformed Katie. Various magic spells are being used, but so far without much success. The battle intensifies, with characters debating whether to kill Katie or try to save him. This moral dilemma adds depth to the conflict. Just as all seems lost, a new element is introduced. Ludens is commanded to have a snack time, tying back to the episode title and potentially turning the tide of the battle. A frustrated monologue by Professor Los opens the 11th episode. Despite having 2 mages and an arbiter, they couldn't save Katie. Sabe laments that he should have accompanied the others. A gravestone for Katie is shown, confirming the death of this character. Suddenly, a dragon appears in the sky. People exclaim, "It's the Dragon Conqueror King." This introduces a powerful new character to the scene. The Dragon Conqueror King addresses the group, informing them that they have orders to return to Weenius. One of the students, Sabe, boldly declares that he'll drop out if necessary. He proposes a plan. If I prove useful in battle, then please readmit me in recognition of my achievements. This demonstrates Sabe's determination and quick thinking. Sabe explains his strategy, referencing teachings from Professor Los about mages' defensive capabilities and witches' use of traps. He suggests using magic potions and non-lethal traps to incapacitate the enemy without killing them. Professor Zero enthusiastically supports the students' plan. She threatens to leave if the students are sent away, showing her attachment to both the students and the village. The scene transitions to a discussion about creating a grand performance to drive away the advancing army without bloodshed. The Dawn Witch excitedly talks about making the enemy a century-long subject of mockery, revealing her mischievous nature. A conversation begins between two characters about protecting children. One character says, "I hear you protected the children. Lou Christas gave me a report." The conversation turns philosophical, discussing the nature of following orders versus one's own will. Tyrant compares himself to a tool, saying, "I just protected my owner, like a tool." This reveals internal conflict and questions of identity. Sabe reveals to his friends that he has created a potion that replenishes magic, based on a book his father wrote. This showcases Sabe's intelligence and resourcefulness. In a shocking revelation, Sabe discloses that his father is 13, the person who caused the war. This adds depth to Sabe's character and suggests potential future conflicts. Sabe's friends react to this news. Kudo exclaims, "What the hell? It's like you're a chosen one or something," showing a mix of awe and perhaps jealousy. The scene shifts to the Tyrant character being thanked by children for saving them. He appears uncomfortable with the gratitude, hinting at a complex past and inner turmoil. A tense conversation occurs between the Tyrant and a teacher, Ms. Hearthful, about protecting the village and its inhabitants. The Tyrant reveals dark thoughts. "What will make you and the kids suffer, cry, and scream? It's constantly on my mind." This shows his struggle between his violent nature and growing attachment to the villagers. Hort torments the Tyrant, suggesting that if he has developed feelings for people, he'll suffer for the rest of his life under the weight of what he's done. This further emphasizes the Tyrant's internal conflict and hints at his violent past. The Dawn Witch and another character discuss the students' plan and their observant nature. They seem impressed by the students' growth and initiative. A strategy meeting is held to plan the defense of the village. They discuss using non-lethal methods to incapacitate the approaching army of 10,000 people. This shows the group's commitment to avoiding bloodshed despite the overwhelming odds. A serious discussion begins about a dangerous threat called the Remnant of Disaster, which had previously attacked Katie. Professor Los presents a model of this threat, explaining its devastating potential. The remnant would have spread infinitely from the village, consuming the population if it hadn't been eliminated. The conversation shifts to a crucial question about the church extremists' true intentions. The speaker theorizes that whoever knows how to stop the remnant must be the one who spread it in the first place. A strategic plan is revealed to handle the situation differently. Instead of fighting, they'll focus on helping refugees from the witch village. The plan involves treating injuries, providing food, and even entertainment through music. This approach aims to win over those who've been misled by anti-witch propaganda. The conversation turns to resource allocation, with a request made to the Knight Captain about troop numbers. A specific request is made to dispatch the Magic Medic Unit in response to church extremists marching against Zero and Mercenaries Village with 10,000 troops. An emergency message arrives from Furia, the ruler of the Holy City Actios, to Torres, head of state of the Creon Republic. The scene shifts to a discussion about conducting war like a board game, with Torres expressing enthusiasm for this concept. The origin of the Remnant of Disaster is revealed through a story about a noble's failed northern expedition. We learn that half his troops were lost in a single day, and Remnant of Disaster seeds were found in the recovered bodies. The church apparently took these seeds and passed them to extremists. The scene concludes with urgent messages being delivered and a request for Cal to fly north to retrieve the mage commander. Despite Cal's reluctance due to security concerns, he was guaranteed protection and strongly advised to leave the area immediately. Sabe and his friends prepare to leave the village. Courageous Boy promises to come back and help when they're older, saying, "I'll grow up and come back as fast as I can." This shows the impact of events on even the youngest characters. In a pivotal moment, Sabe offers his magical energy to Professor Zero to boost their defenses. This selfless act demonstrates Sabe's commitment to protecting the village. Zero accepts Sabe's offer, praising his potential and dubbing him the Abyss Sorcerer. She says, "You will one day make a name for yourself as a sorcerer." This acknowledgement marks a significant moment in Sabe's development as a mage. The 11th episode concludes with the enemy forces approaching, including a demon-possessed individual. This raises the stakes for the upcoming battle. The Dawn, which prepares for the coming battle, determined to defeat the enemy without killing them. The 12th episode opens with soldiers are discussing a mission about killing a head witch, hoping to gain land as a reward. Their conversation is interrupted by an unexpected attack of giant rats, causing confusion and panic. The troops begin to scatter and lose formation. The situation becomes more dire as the soldiers find themselves unable to move their hands and legs through some mysterious force. Their confusion grows as they realize they're dealing with something beyond their understanding. A playful boo reveals that witches are behind this attack, demonstrating their magical abilities. The soldiers are completely overwhelmed, leading their commander to order a retreat, acknowledging that the witches showed them mercy. We learn that this was actually a defensive operation where student witches successfully routed 10,000 foot soldiers with their traps. However, one company, a Beast Fallen mercenary group, has managed to avoid the traps and continues advancing. The scene provides important exposition about demon-possessed beings, explaining that they are Beast Fallen who can use certain magic infinitely without incantation. This reveals them as particularly dangerous opponents. The battle begins in earnest, with a character named Lily being captured. The captors cruelly discuss eating her in front of the villagers for entertainment, showing their brutality. A figure referred to as Father intervenes to save Lily, engaging in combat with the demon-possessed enemy who demonstrates remarkable regenerative abilities despite being hit with a weapon carrying both witch curses and church consecration. The situation escalates as all defeated enemies begin coming back to life. Father orders Lily to hide in the treetops as he prepares to face the demon-possessed personally, while others handle the remaining enemies. The battle intensifies as one of the characters, Tyrant, is revealed to have betrayed their group. The enemies are caught in what is described as a basic trap, leading to chaos as magic users begin their assault. The enemy forces attempt to use their numbers as an advantage, but they're met with an impressive display of magic. Professor Zero explains that the Horned Girl created 30 spells, the Lizard created 10, and the Young Man created 5, though accuracy matters more than quantity. The students demonstrate their magical prowess through various incantations, including Zahard Rohud and Chapter of Hunting. Though their attacks aren't as effective as hoped due to the enemies using trees and boulders as shields, Sabe shows off a new combat move, impressing their allies. Horde unveils her Trump card, a no-incantation Flagus spell with ultra-precise targeting, though she admits to overdoing it slightly. The battle takes an unexpected turn with a sudden new development. An old man character engages in combat, showing frustration at being unable to permanently kill their opponent due to their regenerative abilities. A witch character steps in to assist, preparing to set a bad example for the students. They begin casting a powerful spell, ordering the mercenary to retreat outside the wall when given the signal. The witch performs an impressive incantation, calling upon the King of Despair and opening the Gate of Decay. This forbidden magic summons what appears to be undead forces to join the battle. The aftermath of the powerful magic is revealed, with a warning about how outstanding mages could bring the world to ruin if they go down the wrong path. This serves as both a demonstration of power and a cautionary lesson. The scene concludes with observers, including VIPs from the 7 great cathedrals, watching these exercises. They discuss the expense of such demonstrations, suggesting this was all part of a planned event rather than a random attack. This conversation is interrupted by the sudden appearance of remnants of disaster, dangerous creatures known for eating people. Mage Commander Amner orders the mages to prepare a powerful fire spell called Fire'em to protect the bishops. The incantation calls upon a great serpent that slumbers in Inferno to incinerate their foes. Bishop Idiamor claims to have a protective ward and urges everyone to gather near him for safety. He accuses the village witch of producing casualties to protect her village, revealing he had prepared a countermeasure due to his suspicions. The situation takes a dramatic turn when Chief Mage Albus questions how Bishop Idiamor could have prepared a ward without knowing the demon's name. An impossible feat, this reveals the bishop's deception. The truth is exposed when the remnants of disaster prove to be an illusion. Professor Los playfully says, "Boo," revealing the entire attack was staged, much to everyone's surprise. Professor Los shows mercy to the bishop, offering to let him keep his position if he demonstrates obedience. It's revealed that the bishop had actually rigged peasant soldiers with remnants of disaster, planning to blame the witches when they turned into monsters. News spreads about how 10,000 people failed to subdue one village, with the witches showing compassion by not inflicting any casualties. The entire anti-witch faction's military action becomes an amusing farce. The scene shifts to a graduation ceremony where 3 students receive their diplomas. Despite their achievement, they're initially hesitant to celebrate, having lost their capacity to trust due to previous experiences. The graduates return to their field program village to gather their belongings. There's a touching scene involving a book with a hidden code that's impossible to break if you don't know 13 wrote the book. The episode concludes with the 3 graduates preparing for their next dangerous mission at the Forbidden Library, where they'll gather information about remnants of disaster. Despite the perilous nature of their upcoming task, they express joy at being able to stay together after graduation. The final moments show the group traveling by carriage, dealing with Sabe's motion sickness, while sharing a light-hearted moment that demonstrates their close friendship. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us to keep posting new videos. Thanks.